And welcome to Fourth and Inches once again. I'm Jordan D'Souza here alongside Nathaniel Smith and Christian Egerbide. Gentlemen, we're coming off fall break. How was your little vacation?
You know, I'm personally a big fan of fall break. It's just a couple days from ASU that says here, we're halfway through the semester. School's tough. Just take a deep breath, sit back and relax. So that's what I did. Me and my girlfriend actually took a trip out to the homeland, which is California. Shout out Newbury Park. Small town about an hour north of Los Angeles. It's a great time. A few of the close friends were actually home also, so we were able to hang out, just kick it, have a good time. Watch my brother play some high school football. So overall, it was a grand old time. And Christian, I think you had a bit of a similar experience.
Yeah, one of our co-hosts got into some legal trouble over the break. He'll go a little bit more into that.
Yeah, they don't call me Criminal Cree for no reason. I did have a speeding ticket I had to address on my fall break. From the same town as Nate Smith. Shout out Newbury Park times 2. But, a little speeding ticket. I had to go to court for it. But luckily, I completed this class that the court ordered me to do. So just showed them a little certificate. Got the case dismissed. So no fine or anything. But, just like Nate, I'm a huge fall break guy. Appreciated the few days off and just kicked it. Got to see my high school football team play a big game on Friday night. And it was just great to be home and chilling out.
I, too, am a big fall break guy, but the one thing that really always kind of throws me for a loop is the day coming back from classes. I had, 3 classes today, one at, 8:30, one at, 11, and one at 3, and I managed to forget a pencil to all 3 of those classes. I just don't. It's just I need, a 2-day buffer to kind of get back into the swing of things. I don't know. How was class for you?
Yeah, you're not lying. The Wednesday back is always a bit of a slap in the face.
This might be the hardest week of our academic year right here, this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Because, you got the Monday, Tuesday off, so you're like, okay, let's relax. Just kidding. You have stuff due immediately coming back that Wednesday. So it's kind of like a fake break. I almost wish fall break didn't exist and they would transfer those days to Thanksgiving week and we would just get that entire week off. I think that would make more sense. But, hey. I don't make the schedules for a reason. I just go here. I study.
And how was your first day back of classes, Christian?
Well, before I elaborate on my day, did you mean you forgot your pencil to each individual class? Like you came back and chilled and then...
Okay, so essentially I went to bio at 8:30, forgot a pencil to that, and then I came back here and grabbed a little snack, and then I had Spanish at...
didn't grab a pencil.
No. I forgot the pencil. Grabbed a snack. Went back to Spanish at 10:45. Came in. I was like, oh darn, forgot a pencil. Darn, Jordan. And then went back to my writing class, which was at 2:30, and forgot a pencil as well. So that's kind of how everything went down. All right, and for the real reason why we are here, we're here to talk about the game this past weekend, Arizona State, UCLA. The Sun Devils come out with the win, 23-20, and kind of a grit and grind game. Was not pretty in the slightest. The halftime score was 3-3. Just looking at some of the stats, total yardage, UCLA beat us 443 to 275. UCLA did only have -1 rushing yard on the day, so you can't get much worse. Spin zone, you can only go up from there. In comparison to our 79 yards. And other than that, it was just kind of a defensive battle. But one of the main storylines in this game is that both starting quarterbacks ended up getting hurt in the game. Nate, how did that kind of affect both teams' play going into this game?
Well, obviously, ASU was already under the 8 ball because Manny Wilkins, the starter to open the season, was out. He did not play this game because of an injury. So Brady White, his backup, got the nod. And Brady White exited the game also with an injury. So whenever...
He also exited this season with an injury.
Apparently the reports are he's out for the entire year. So if Manny Wilkins is not able to play next week, ASU will most likely turn to third-string quarterback Dylan Sterling Cole. He is a true freshman out of Texas, Houston, Texas. He had a scout grade of 82. He's a 4-star. And he was actually ranked 8th at his position. So this guy is pretty nice. He had offers coming out of high school from some pretty big name schools such as Florida, Boise, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, and UCLA, among others. But to answer your question, I mean, anytime your quarterback goes down, as an offense, it's just so hard to respond. I mean, you look at the stats, ASU only had 196 yards passing. I mean, that's really not good at all. And then when you also take a deeper look, Brady White himself, while he was in the game, he had 179 of those yards. He was 19 of 36 for 1 touchdown and 1 interception, which is a pretty bad day. So even when he was healthy in the game, they weren't finding much success. Now, looking at the ground game, I mean, the ASU offense has just been struggling lately. Their leading rusher was Demario Richard, who carried the ball 15 times and only gained 62 yards. I mean, that's not going to cut it against top-notch teams. I think if on the other side of the field, if UCLA's quarterback Josh Rosen stays in this game the entire time, I don't think there's any way that our dismal offensive performance could lead us to a victory. But I think we got kind of lucky. But, I mean, it'll be tough sledding next week without our quarterbacks.
So kind of to follow up on that, I mean, when both of our quarterbacks go down, obviously we're going to have to lean heavy on the run game. But even, like, losing a quarterback such as that, I know you played football. Like, how does losing your starting quarterback, can that negatively affect the running game also? Is it just kind of like your whole offense kind of suffers from losing this one key player?
Yeah, the quarterback is easily the most important position on the field, in my opinion. I mean, he's the field general. He controls the tempo. A lot of the time, he's a great leader and controls team morale. And when you lose your starting quarterback, the opposing defense realizes this and can do what we like to stack the box, which means they load extra defenders in between the 2 tackles, and they literally commit to stopping the run, and they dare the backup to throw the ball. And in this case, we were not able to take advantage. Dylan Sterling Cole only had 1 pass attempt. But moving forward into next week, the Colorado defense is going to dare us to throw the ball. And if we can't throw the ball successfully, it's going to be an easy win for them because they're just going to stack up the box and stuff the run.
Definitely. I think it helped that also that Josh Rosen went down. He was very effective when he was in, through 400 yards. But when he was out, they had their backup, Mike Fafal. Can we get a pronunciation on that?
I think you're right. You know, tough name to pronounce. Stats are underwhelming. Yeah,
those are too bad. He's also from Cockeysville, Maryland. That's strike 3 for me. This guy's he's just not a winner. But anyway, I mean, definitely it was a grit and grind game. Defense came up big. It's just one of those games where you just like say, thank God we won. You just want to move on to the next week. All right, now switching over to the defensive side of the ball for the Sun Devils. The Sun Devils ended up holding the Bruins to only 20 points, which is normally a potent offense. Christian, what did you see out of the Sun Devils defense?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think you just have to applaud the rush defense of the Sun Devils because to hold the team to -1 rushing yards throughout an entire game is tough to do, especially a team like UCLA with a high-powered offense. UCLA ran the ball 23 times and got -1 rushing yards. That's just a total sentiment to the ASU defense and how they were playing the run. But then you look at pretty much all of the 443 total yards for UCLA was through the air. So once again, the pass defense kind of suspect in this game as we had seen it against USC and in a few other games. But Marcus Ball, linebacker for ASU, had a big game with 10 tackles and a big pick. ASU had 3 interceptions, so that's kind of a bright point in their passing defense, although anytime you let up over 400 yards, it's kind of not a great outing for you, but they hung in there. 20 points against a team like UCLA is a very solid outing, so got to applaud them for stepping up in a game where they knew they needed to play a little better, and they did so.
All right, so you played on the defensive side of the ball, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how does your kind of defense react if you see your own starting quarterback go down with an injury? How does that kind of affect your whole mindset, like continuing the game?
Well, I mean, that's obviously a leader, and when you're on the defensive side of the ball, you're on the sideline watching him do his thing, and then when he goes out of the game, you kind of know as a unit that you're all going to have to step up and try to play tough out there and get the ball back in the offense's hands quickly so that, the quarterback who's coming in doesn't have time to sit there and get cold and, kind of psych himself out for getting in the game. You just want to, get some good defensive series, get the ball back in his hands so that he can try to do something with it. So it's really just a mindset as a team that you have to step up even more, because now, the offense might not be as potent with the second string guy in there.
All right, so now kind of flipping it. So let's just say you're lining up on the defensive end, and then you see the other team's backup quarterback, Mike Foffel, hard name to pronounce guy, lining up on the other side. How does that kind of like rile you guys up?
Well, that's like, being served a $50 steak, like as a defense, you're just like,
that's just a buffalo.
This is money. Like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, I think your coach is probably going to start sending some blitzes more just because you want to get the guy rattled, A second string guy coming in there probably doesn't know the playbook quite as well as the first string guy, so they're going to kind of dumb it down for him. They won't be running, as complicated a plays, or they'll just be trying to run the ball and not really put the ball in his hands to pass it at all. So as a defense, you can really just pin your ears back and blitz much more than you can with a starter who knows the offense. So more than anything, you're just hungry out there when you see, some fresh meat come in at quarterback.
So looking ahead, the Sun Devils will be taking on the Colorado Buffaloes this week. The Buffaloes are 4-2 with a 2-1 record in the Pac-12 South. So this is a very big conference game for us and a very pivotal game that we really must win at this point to move to 6-1. Nate, what do you think are the bigger matchups heading into this game? I mean, no one's going to be doubting the ability of the Colorado Buffaloes skill position players, especially their wide receivers. So what do you think are the major matchups headed into this week?
Yeah, I think you got to look for the ASU secondary, who has surrendered a lot of yards through the air. Over 400 last week to an injured Josh Rosen for most of the game. So we might be in some trouble here vertically because Colorado has a man by the name of Shea Fields, and he is very good. He has 25 receptions for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns so far in the year, and this dude is just electric. I think we're going to have a very tough time covering him. I hope Todd Graham calls a double team on him because this kid deserves it. I mean, and if we don't, our corners are not good enough to hang with this guy. So I think our biggest thing on the defensive side of the ball is to take away the pass. If we can do that, we might have a chance.
So strategically, what do you think are some things that we can do on the defensive side of the ball to kind of quiet the Buffaloes offense?
I think always a good move when you're playing a stud receiver like this is to go man-on-man underneath with the corner up top and then have a safety over the top for extra help. It limits the ability for the offense to go deep over the top. It helps eliminate the vertical threat and forces the receiver and quarterback into combining for shorter routes where you can rally up and make the tackle instead of blowing the top off the defense and getting burned deep. So I think our biggest goal here defensively for this game is going to be to limit the big plays because this Colorado team has sure shown that they can make those.
Okay, so on the offensive side of the ball, at this point, we do not know who the starting quarterback is going to be. So let's just say that Manny Wilkins makes a rapid recovery and ends up starting this week. Christian, what do you think the Sun Devils are going to try to do offensively?
Well, I mean, obviously, having Manny Wilkins versus Cole, the third string quarterback, is going to make a huge difference just because Manny Wilkins is so dynamic with his legs as well as with the arm. So that's obviously going to be huge if we can have our starter who knows all the plays, can run the offense as efficiently as possible. That'll make a huge difference. But most of all, just for the offense, I think we need to run the ball just as good as we have been. 79 yards against UCLA wasn't bad. That's a pretty balanced run attack. And then just passing the ball, 196, that was due to, having the backups in there probably. So if Manny Wilkins plays, I think that'll give us a huge boost on offense and probably give us what we need to win this game. But if we have the third stringer, Sterling Cole, in the game, I think we'd have to rely heavily on the run game, and I just don't know if that run game is going to be enough to beat Colorado.
Yeah, I have to agree. Even the last few weeks, the running game hasn't really been up to par. I feel like we go into every game kind of saying, okay, this is the game where we establish the run, and then we kind of run the ball 2 times and get like -5 on both play, and like, okay, time to chuck the pigskin. It's like kind of one of those mentalities. But so do you think that even if Dylan Sterling Cole ends up getting the nod for this game, do you think that it's gonna be enough to take down Colorado?
No. I think if we start Sterling Cole, either he's going to have to show something that he didn't against UCLA as far as what he can do in the passing game and how he has a grasp of the playbook. But from what I saw in the UCLA game, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it through the air. So therefore, they'd have to rely on the run game. And I think this Colorado defense is stingy, and I don't know if we're going to be able to run the ball on them like that. So I think if Sterling Cole is in the game, we have far less chance than if we have Manny Wilkins, who can run the ball as well as pass and be very dynamic in that way.
Nate, do you give the Sun Devils a chance at winning this game?
It's going to be tough sledding for sure. I mean, this Colorado defense coming into this game is only allowing 20.7 points a game. So that's an average of about 3 touchdowns. If we could score 3 touchdowns, I don't even know if that would be enough to win the game, because I'd assume Colorado's at least putting up 28 points against our pretty poor defense. Like Christian said, if Sterling Cole is the quarterback, I think we're in big trouble. But honestly, Wilkins hasn't been that impressive either so far this year. We need to find a way for them to respect the pass, though. So maybe our best chance would be with Sterling Cole, because he was recruited because he's a great pocket passer in high school. So I think he only had 1 passing attempt when he came in last game. So if they kind of release the playbook and let him throw the ball around a little bit, we might be able to see what he can do. But tough test for him if he's playing against this tough Colorado D.
All right, now to wrap up the show, we're just going to take a look at the Pac-12 standings as of this point. Nate, what is the biggest surprise of the Pac-12 at this point of the season?
I mean, I think you got to go with the University of Washington. No one really expected much from them coming into this year. And they're 6-0 and sitting at number 5 in the country. I mean, they have been playing lights out. They blew out Stanford. They've been blowing away the competition thus far, and I really don't see anyone in the Pac-12 that can compete with them. I mean, if they stay on this road, you're looking at the Washington Huskies in the college football playoffs, which no one saw at the beginning of the year. So for me, that's definitely the biggest surprise so far.
And on the other side, Christian, what do you think has been the biggest disappointment so far in the Pac-12?
Coming into this year, Stanford, getting McCaffrey back, I thought that they were going to be really good again and maybe even make a push for the college football playoffs. But right now they're sitting at 3-2 overall, so they got blown out by Washington in kind of a marquee matchup that I thought they would have shown up for. So kind of disappointed in how Stanford's been playing. McCaffrey not, lighting it up to the extent that he did last year. So I was really expecting more out of them, for them to be like a top 5 team down the road this season. So right now they look like, they're going to get 3rd or 4th in that Pac-12 North. So kind of disappointing from that standpoint.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see if they can definitely turn their season around. Very disappointing. They have a Heisman hopeful in Christian McCaffrey, and to be 3-2 at this point is not how they saw their season going. But anyway, to wrap it up, I'm Jordan D'Souza.
I'm Christian Agarbita.
And I'm Nate Smith.
Thanks for stopping by. This has been 4th and Inches.